Wait a minute. Let me make sure I'm understanding this correctly. The mainstream media, the proud defenders of the unprofitable business of women's basketball, the mainstream media who has spent years trying to convince us that women's basketball is must-see TV instead of what it actually is, which is get off my TV. You mean to tell me the media is publicly admitting that Unrivaled is struggling? The media is insinuating that Unrivaled is on the brink of extinction?
You clicked because you saw this. 65% lost. And if Unrivaled really shed that much of its audience in 1 year, it changes everything about the WNBA contract fight. Because when the audience disappears, the leverage disappears with it.
I've been telling you guys there is no interest in pretend basketball. I have been telling you guys for years, as the mainstream media has intentionally lied to us. These elite athletes are amazing! This is the best basketball in the world! Woohoo! Yes, yes, yes!
So let me show you the numbers people are reacting to. Why players suddenly sound a lot more open to the old deal, and what happens next if this keeps sliding.
It's only a matter of time, dog. It was only a matter of time before the big dogs start speaking. Now, I told y'all last year that Unrivaled was on a needle and a thread contract because that means that they kind of on borrowed time. If this thing don't work, guess what they're going to do? They're going to ball it up and can it. And that's exactly possibly what's about to go down with Unrivaled, bruh.
Now let's talk numbers, because numbers cut through the noise. The reported figure making the rounds is that Unrivaled Season 2 opened around 107,000 viewers on national TV. Last year's opener was reported around 313,000.
He averaged 221,000 viewers, and then across the regular season, peaking at 377,000 viewers. The one-on-one tournament, the opening night last season averaged 312 viewers, 312,000 viewers. Guys, that was simply because it was a new thing and everybody wanted to watch the new thing, just like I looked at it last year. Now, the WNBA's 29th season averaged nearly 1 million viewers per game, which that is going to drop too. That is going to drop, bro.
You don't need to be a ratings expert to feel the punch. That's not a dip. That's the kind of drop that makes networks, sponsors, and investors start asking hard questions.
We have been talking about this here on the channel for years. The so-called growth in women's basketball is an illusion. For starters, it's easy to show growth when you're growing from nothing to almost nothing.
And before anyone says ratings vary, yes, they do. Time slots matter, competition matters, lead-ins matter. But here's the point. If something is truly exploding, it should be harder to knock it down. Instead, 1 season later, it looks fragile. So I want you thinking about this as we go. If your biggest bargaining chip is attention, what happens when attention drops? Because Unrivaled wasn't just created as a fun side project. On paper, it was supposed to be leverage. It was supposed to be the safety net for players in contract talks. The pitch was simple. We're not trapped. We have an alternative. We can earn money elsewhere. We can keep our profile elsewhere. Therefore, when we walk into negotiations, we're doing it with options.
This isn't the woke media that I know to be completely useless. This isn't the media that has a long history of polishing the turd. This is unprecedented. The media is actually telling us the truth. Last year, they were trying to convince us that Unrivaled was taking over the world. Have you seen these ratings? I haven't seen ratings this high since Beavis claimed he gets nothing but head. Whoopee!
But here's the brutal truth about leverage that nobody can escape. A threat only works if the other side believes you can actually use it. If the league believes you can walk away and still get paid and still stay relevant, they negotiate differently. They compromise faster. They take your demands seriously. But if the alternative product looks shaky, the threat stops being scary. It starts being a bluff the room can smell. And that's why the audience number matters beyond a single broadcast. Because it's not just people watched less. It's the safety net might not be a safety net. Now connect that straight to the WNBA contract showdown. For months, the loudest message from players was confidence. Stand firm, hold the line. If we have to, we strike. And whether you agree with that or not, the strategy is clear. Pressure the league by proving you're willing to shut the machine down. But then something changes. You start hearing a very different tone. The possibility of playing under the old agreement while negotiations drag. The same deal that was being called unacceptable. The same structure that was being used as proof the system is broken. If you're watching and thinking, wait, how do you go from we're holding the line to we'll play under the old deal so fast? You're asking the right question. Because playing under the old deal isn't a flex. It's a holding pattern. In plain English, it means the current pay structure stays in place for now, and everyone keeps working while both sides keep arguing behind the scenes. And yes, it keeps checks coming, but it also keeps the uncertainty alive. It creates a season where everyone knows the tension is still there. Either side can escalate. Either side can hardball. Fans get whiplash. Sponsors get cautious. So why would players even consider it? Because as cold as it sounds, bills do not pause for negotiations. Careers are short. Off seasons are short. And if your alternative league is not proving it can reliably replace the main paycheck, your negotiating posture changes. It has to. Now here's the part that sounds like boring accounting, but it's actually the entire war: revenue share. You've probably heard a version of this argument. Players want a bigger piece of the pie. The league points to costs and says the pie is smaller than it looks. And the sticking point a lot of people focus on is whether the split is calculated on gross revenue or net revenue. Gross is the total before expenses. Net is what's left after expenses. And that difference is not a minor technicality. It decides whether the league can say, we're paying you out of profits, or whether the league is obligated to pay you even when costs spike and profits disappear. Therefore, when fans hear numbers being floated like a big share of net versus a big share of gross, that is not a small disagreement. That's the whole fight. Now layer the ratings drop on top of that. Because the moment you say, we deserve more, the next question becomes, how are you going to generate it? And when a major partner looks at a season opener pulling around 100,000 viewers, it becomes harder to argue that the market has already expanded enough to support massive jumps. This is why people keep bringing up Paige Bueckers in this conversation. Not because Paige is a bad player. That's not the point. The point is the way she's being positioned. She's marketed like the next automatic audience magnet, the next era, the next guarantee. And if you're telling fans this is the future, but the future launches and the audience doesn't follow, that tells you the hype is not converting yet. And you can feel that tension in the money talk. The transcript this video is based on throws out a reported pay figure for Paige in Unrivaled, around $348,000. If that's even close, you can see the business question instantly. A new league paying serious money while still fighting for mainstream attention is a risky model. That's not a moral judgment, that's basic maths. Now zoom out even further. The WNBA has had something most startup leagues don't: staying power, relationships, infrastructure, and yes, long-term support from the broader basketball ecosystem. Owners have been willing to invest because they believed the long-term story. Growth is coming, the audience is building, this is going to scale. But patience isn't infinite. If spin-off leagues and alternative products can't stand on their own, that story gets harder to sell in boardrooms. And that is exactly why Unrivaled's audience decline becomes more than a ratings topic. It becomes a negotiation topic. Because now the league can look at the situation and think, if the alternative can't prove demand, Where exactly is the outside pressure coming from? And if the outside pressure is weak, the strike threat feels less scary. This is where the Caitlin Clark effect argument comes in. The harsh version is, without the biggest draw, everything collapses back to the baseline. I'll say it more carefully. One generational talent can lift attention across an entire ecosystem, but that doesn't automatically mean the rest of the ecosystem can stand on its own yet. And if the union built its confidence on the idea that the whole market permanently moved up, a drop like this feels like a trapdoor opening. So what happens next? I see two doors. Door one is the quiet compromise. Players accept something close to the current structure in the short term, maybe with incremental improvements, just to keep the season stable and keep money flowing. It's not exciting. It doesn't create viral headlines, but it protects momentum and protects the product from chaos. Door two is the hard line. Players hold the line, the league holds the line, and you risk missed games, ugly blame campaigns, and a mess that damages the product for everybody. And the worst part is, if the audience is already fragile, chaos doesn't help you grow it. So let me ask you directly, if you're a player, do you take a short-term deal that looks like the old agreement so you can keep momentum alive and fight smarter over time? Or do you push for a hard reset and risk the entire season turning into a staring contest? Comment below. Take the old deal or hold the line. And if you're still watching, drop OLDCBA in the comments.